Hello everyone, how you doing? I've seen that most YouTubers have a very cool background and they work a lot on looking good on the video, so I chose to buy a cactus. Why not? Okay, so today's video, what's it about? It's about smartwatches, but not any smartwatch. This YouTube channel comes from the Spanish YouTube channel Hola Me Llamo Carlos, and there I have 150,000 subscribers, and I get a lot of products, a lot of offers from different enterprises offering me to test products. This, as an example, these are 3 bracelets that I've tested over the time, and I didn't think they were good enough for a video, so honestly I didn't even publish it. And instead of those, I used the Xiaomi Mi Band 4, which is great. So these 2 watches, the brand is LEMFO, they really called my attention because they were very different from anything that I'd seen before. Well, to begin with, it's just a copy of an Apple Watch. That's not that impressive. But on the other hand, there's a huge weird thing. Yes, take a look at that. It's a watch that's also a phone at the same time. You can play video games on it. Take a look at them here in AliExpress. The first one, the Apple Watch equivalent, that's 100 euros, which is somewhere around $120, more or less. So both of them have some of the things that I consider pretty basic for an Apple Watch. The first one is 4G connectivity. You can insert a SIM to it because one of the points of having an Apple Watch is for you to make calls and receive calls without having to carry your phone everywhere you go. So yes, both of them are 4G compatible, no problem. The other thing I was looking for is waterproof. It says waterproof design. It's just that they are IP67, so you can take a shower with them and no problem. Every smartwatch today has a ton of different watches, different styles for you to look a bit cooler. And its last feature is the possibility to measure your heart rate, but that also every watch today has that. It's also got GPS, and a weird thing that not every watch has is a camera. Like you have a small camera on your hand. So yeah, I want to test that. It's 2 megapixels, which isn't much, but why not? We'll try it out. The second watch is the LEMFO LEMT. The second one, and this is probably the most interesting part of the video, it's the LEMFO, the LMT as I said, and it's a very weird thing. It's a bit more expensive, 130, and this picture shows it all. You can use it to play video games, to browse the web, you can use it, I don't know, for maps. That would be useful if you go on a bike, it may be helpful. It's obviously also got 4G, but mostly it's a very weird thing that I had never seen before. You can even do FaceTime with it. You can do a ton of things that you'd normally do with your phone, but now you do them on the wrist. As the last feature, it's obviously the battery life because it's huge, so the battery should be huge as well. And this is basically it. The LEMFO LEMT and the LEMFO LM10. In the box you get the manual, the user manual of course, you get a charger and you get a screen protector. That's not bad. I like to wear big watches, you can see it's a huge one that I'm wearing right now, and this one is a bit larger but not too big. It's reasonable, a bit thick, maybe it's in the upper end of big watches. If you have a small wrist maybe it will be too big for you, but it's not terrible. It looks good, it's mostly very not heavy. It's pretty nice to wear. As for the controls, you get the same thing as in an Apple Watch. You get a scroller and a button. I'm gonna turn it on, and while it turns on, you can take a look at the strap. It's this, I don't really like it, it's this tissue strap. In fact, I would buy another one on AliExpress. They are very inexpensive. Like for 5 euros you can have one. And on the other hand, you get the system for taking it off. That I really prefer. You just have to do this. It's hop on, hop off. It's very easy. So as I said, I would just buy a new one. If you want to get this, buy a 5 euro cool strap because this one just looks off. Oh, I just saw it on the case. There's something I didn't tell you about that exactly. The big one has a bit more storage. It has 32 gigs, while the smaller one only had 16. I'm really liking the texture of it. It's just a plastic strap, but I really like the thing, like the thickness of it. Since it's a big thing with a big, I don't know, a big volume, big weight, everything. I like it looking heavy, tough. In the box, same thing as before. I'm not gonna give you a lot of detail about it. It has some screwdriver, which is always good. And that terrible noise. Oh, and also, yeah, that's cool. That's the charging station. You don't get a plug. It's just a big station you can put it on. I'm really liking this thing. It's a very weird product concept, whatever. It's cool. It's looking good so far. So that small time prestigious watch was more than 20 minutes of me testing it, and so far so good. I'm really liking it. The app you have to install, it's not great. But I don't think that's a problem because this, since it's so big, most of the things you have to change, the things you have to do, the settings, all of that, you're meant to do them on the watch, not on the phone. It's just the opposite as an Apple Watch, for example, where whatever you want to do, you have to do it on your phone. Here, the settings are good enough. By pressing on the screen, for example, you get a couple different watch faces. Those are a couple ones. You get a concept of a Citroen. I don't know why. You get a climbing guy, which I really like. I'm gonna leave that. So scrolling to the left, you get your notifications. I don't have any yet, but not a big deal. Scrolling here, you get the quick access random things, the quick settings. I don't know how to call them, the same thing as the iPhone, but I mean, nothing too spectacular. And scrolling then once more, you get once again like the quick information, the time, like whether if you have a SIM or not, you connect it to Bluetooth, blah, blah, blah. Then the menu, it's very similar to that of the iPhone. If you want to take a look at a full tutorial, you can look for one on YouTube. I'm sure there will be a lot. I'm here most to show you like the simple things, what it can do, why I found it interesting, and like that. A quick video just show you around. So I want to take a look at the maps. For example, I wrote a random trip from Malta to where I'm at now, at Lyon, France. Yes. I don't know what else, like the camera, for example. This is a picture of a not too good quality. I was expecting that, in fact, because from 5 megapixels you can expect much. I'm curious for the quality of the small watch's camera, because that's even less. That's only 2 megapixels, so that can't be great. The sport section of it, up the run, sports, ride bike, play basketball. You cannot play basketball with this thing, but you can certainly do, I don't know, rope skipping, ride a bike, indoor run. I don't know. There are a lot of things you can do, but don't play basketball with it, please. You can tell yourself it moves pretty fast. It's actually pretty good, better than I expected. Scrolling down, you get some stats like the number of steps in the day, the number of miles, calories burned, all of those, the classic. So the big question with this is whether if you can use it and not have a phone, like directly. Substitute your phone for a watch like that. You are a skier or a climber or, I don't know, a ski teacher, for example. I can imagine that would be helpful. The whole point is, I don't know, do you really need a phone when you have something like that? I personally don't think that I will use it often. The build quality is great. That's one of the things I like the most about it, since it's a big, tough thing. The build quality is also very tough, very thick, very big and heavy. That's one of the things I like most, quite frankly. Nothing to do with one of those small bracelets to measure sports. That's not the point. Neither the app on your phone. It's just not meant for that. I honestly think that this phone is more meant to be used independently of a phone than to be synchronized with it. And in fact, I think the iPhone app will be much better than that of the Android, because I don't see many iPhone users wearing watches like that. So yeah, probably the Android app will be better. Quick conclusion, I really like this, much more than I thought. So now let's take a look at the smaller one. Shit. The one that is just a copy of the Apple Watch, and let's see how it does. I really can't stand those sounds. It feels even small after using the other one, but it's not small at all. Whoa, that's a very good definition. Yeah, take a look at this. So as I was saying, it's not small at all. You can see it's even larger than my wrist, but it's small enough. As for the faces, I mean, there's a couple faces, as always, a couple colors. It doesn't really matter. You can also install your own if you want. The functionality should be the same one as that of the Apple Watch. You have the small button, you can scroll around, and then you go back with that one, and you use this one to block. It's pretty much the same thing. And as for the apps, we should get the same thing as before. The camera, you really shouldn't take pictures with these. Then, oh yeah, it's the translator. So I just connected it to Wi-Fi for it to work, and now let's try out the translator. It can be really useful. So to begin with, from Spanish to English, for example.
Hola, ¿qué tal estás, amigo?
Hi, how are you, friend?
Pretty well, how you doing?
Bastante bien. ¿Cómo te va?
That was surprisingly good. In fact, it's super useful. I find it very funny that they've copied all of the logos, like the calendar, that of the weather, the music, the same thing as the iPhone. Let's now take a look at the weather. The screen is pretty small, but big enough. We are in Écully, on the side of Lyon, France, and it's cold. As for the sports, you have a ton of sports, just as always, basketball, soccer, running. The only thing I find, I don't know, a bit weird is the setup. Like, it's not the same software, it's not the same image. It looks very different than that of the watch before. Like, if it wasn't the same brand. I don't know if you understand what I say, but they are two very different watches, although their functionality is pretty much the same thing. I'm not gonna waste too much time on the app and everything because it's just not good. Same thing as in the watch before. This is a watch that is meant to be used alone. You can put a SIM on it and use it as a substitute for your watch. That means that the messages you don't get them to your phone and then the phone has to send them to the watch. It's the watch itself who receives and handles everything. Like here you get the same thing as if you scroll down on a phone or an iPhone, Android, whatever. Like all of this functionality. Also this, you can close all the apps, like just the same thing as in the iPhone. You control the music too. You have access to the full watch, not a simplified version, and then you need the app. Like they're two very good products, very full computers, if I can say it like that. They're not just a wearable that you can attach to your phone. Even more in the case of the one on the left, because that's huge. Like look at the calendar. It's a very big thing. You can even work on it. You can send a couple emails if you need to. The smaller one, on the other hand, is I mean, both are meant to be used on the side of your phone because no one will have just a watch and not a phone. But you could, in fact, if you wanted to do it, if you're a skier, if you're a sailor, if you're whatever you are, you can totally do so. I'm just imagine that most of the people will just have a phone on the side and just use this as a wearable. That works too. Only the connection between the watch and the phone is not as good as that of the Apple Watch, for example. I mean, anyways, they're two very good products. Mostly they are very original products. The one on the left I had never seen before, and a huge thing like that. I love the build quality of it. It's a very tough thing. If you're wearing a 2 kilo watch, it's not 2 kilo, it's just a heavy watch. It may as well just look tough, look rough, look heavy. That's all I have to say, so thanks a lot for watching, just as always. And oh yeah, I've always forget about my Instagram. If you want to take a look, it's linked in the description. I publish things like everyone, and that's basically it. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you in the next one. Ciao.